What's up, everybody? Welcome to Karma Media. We are here today to break down some UFC Vegas 22. We have Kevin Holland versus Derek Brunson, which should be a fun card overall. Going to be talking some betting and Draftkings as always. I'm here with Tyler. You can follow him on Twitter at TySlice23. You can follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers. And before we get into it, if you are interested in getting me and Tyler's core plays for this weekend's event, along with the props we are playing on Prize Picks and Monkey Knife Fight, to sign up, go to dfskarma.com/shop and sign up for the MMA core plays for instant access. Great stuff on there. Go check it out. Really appreciate it. And also, before we get started, if you can leave a like on this video and subscribe if you have not yet, again, very, very appreciated as well. So, Tyler, how are you doing? You looking forward to this card?
Yeah, so I was going through this card a little bit this morning, and I think it's a really good card from a viewership standpoint, just as a fan. A lot of good prospects on the card. A lot of fights I'm excited about. Trying to make some money with it, too.
Yeah, I feel like this card is pretty solid for DraftKings. I feel like there's going to be a lot of exciting fights, a lot of finishes as well, and as we know, it's always makes for a good DraftKings card. So we'll kind of get into it now. They've been switching up the bout order all week. I'm sure there'll probably be some more changes in the near future again, but for right now, we have the opener of Julia Avila versus Julia Stoliarenko. On DraftKings, we have Julia Avila 9,200 and Stoliarenko is 7,000. Taking a look at the odds here, we have Avila as a pretty big favorite, one of the biggest favorites on the card at -400, and Stoliarenko at +325. So who are you liking here?
Yeah, I kind of think this is a one-sided fight. Avila, she looks like a really good prospect. I think that she's just going to come in there and put it on her. She's one of the fighters that I'm targeting. There's a few fighters that are a little bit higher priced on DraftKings that I think that you need at least 3 of them in for this card, and Avila is one of the fighters that I'm looking at. I think that she's going to come in and get a stoppage.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you. I'm not big on this Stoliarenko fighter. I mean, she came in there in a UFC debut. She looked awful. I mean, that was probably one of the worst fights I've ever seen in my life. Yana Kunitsukai was able to control her against the cage for a good 14 minutes, which was very boring. But, as far as Avila goes, very aggressive. She's going to go after it. And I don't really like how Stoliarenko, all she does is she pulls guard, she flops to her back. And I guess, if she can get an armbar from guard, that's her only path to victory. She has finished 90% of her wins by submission. But if not, I agree with you. Avila does roll. So are you throwing in Avila into any parlays? -400, maybe it seems wide, but I'm kind of with you. I think this is one-sided.
Yeah, -400. I don't really want to play her straight. She's going to be in one of my parlays, though. And then I haven't looked at the prop yet, but her to finish the fight inside the distance, I'm kind of liking also.
Yeah, what I was looking at was the under 2.5 where the fight doesn't go to decision. I think it's at pretty good plus money because if Stoliarenko wins, it's probably like an armbar from guard. And if Avila wins, it's probably a standing KO early. So I'm kind of looking at that under. Don't know if I'll play it or not, but something to mention there. So we'll get into the next fight here. And we have, this was supposed to be the opener, but they kind of changed it around. We have Bruno Silva versus JP Buys. We have Buys 8,300, Bruno Silva 7,900 on DraftKings. Taking a look at the line. And there's been some huge line movement. So JP Buys opened up -280. He is currently -140. And Bruno Silva opened up +220. He's currently +120. So tons of line movement here. Who are you liking?
Yeah, so I seen the movement, and I've been trying to talk myself into Bruno Silva, and I just don't think that he gets it done. I think Buys is a good prospect, up and coming. I think that he has multiple ways to win the fight, and I think he's a good enough grappler that he stays out of trouble if the fight ends up there. I think on the feet, he's going to pick him apart.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough one. Bruno Silva obviously has fought the better level of competition, but I really like what I see from this Buys guy. He's really aggressive, great wrestling, a great ground game as well. It's just what I don't like about him is that cardio, and he's young. I think he's like 24, 25 years old. I'm sure he's going to be making improvements, but I'm kind of worried what happens if it does get out of the first round because we have seen him slow down in the past. Ultimately, I think this is a really good fight to target on DraftKings. I think it's going to be very action-packed. I see a lot of grappling. Both guys, not shy and, going to the grappling. I believe Silva's a black belt. Not sure what Buys is, but a good grappler himself. So as far as DraftKings goes, what are you looking at for ownership? Are you going heavy on this fight, and are you going a little bit more on the Buys side?
I'm going to have some exposure to both. I expect that Silva's going to be a little bit higher owned, so I'm leaning more towards being contrarian and playing Buys slightly more. As far as the betting line at -140, I think it is right now, I don't mind Bays. I haven't pulled the trigger on it yet, but it's something that I'm really considering right now. I think I'm waiting a little bit because I do see Silva money coming in, and I'm hoping I can get it right around even closer to fight time.
Yeah, so I'm actually one of the guys that pulled the trigger on Silva at plus 150. So yeah, if you were on the base side, I definitely wait. I have a feeling this fight's going to get probably to even money by fight time, but regardless, it's going to be a fun fight, something you'll want on DraftKings. Another angle I liked in this fight was the under 2.5 at decent plus money. I think it was sitting like around plus 150 last time I checked. Bays has never went to the distance. He's never been to a decision. He's been finished in both of his losses. He has 9 finishes total. And like I said, he does slow down as the fight goes on. So I think the under 2.5 is something to look at as well. But yeah, we'll get into the next fight here. And yeah, this is the biggest favorite on the card by a decent margin. And we have Montel Jackson going against Jesse Strader. And as far as DraftKings goes, Montel Jackson 9,400. Jesse Strader 6,800, the most expensive on DraftKings. And like I said, he's the biggest favorite, sitting at, on some books, he's minus 800. I saw on a book he was minus 1,200, but minus 650, minus 750. So, like the biggest favorite on the card. Are you taking Montel Jackson? Are you going to pull for the upset here?
No, I think Jackson's just going to go out there and put it on him. I don't think that Strader is really that good, and I think this is a fight that Jackson can kind of showcase his striking and finish it pretty early. I got Jackson at, I think it was minus 675, and threw him in a parlay with Avila and one other fighter that we'll talk about later. But yeah, from DraftKings, he's 9,400. I am finding a way to get him in my lineup just because I think it's a sure stoppage.
Yeah, so this fight's interesting. I mean, obviously, we're going with Jackson. It's just, does he finish this fight, or does he win by decision? If you watch the tape on Strader, this guy is a guy that, he goes after it. He's a killer-be-killed fighter. He only has 6 fights, very unexperienced, and he was going out there on the regional scene, getting hurt in a lot of his fights. And I think if these lower-level guys can hurt him, I do think Jackson's going to hurt him bad. And what angle I really liked was the under 2.5, but that line has been juiced so bad. I think it opened up around minus 160. It's currently like minus 200. I think that's the way to look at it, and I'm 100% with you. I did put Montel Jackson in a parlay as well. I do think he wins. Is Jesse Strader live? I mean, I guess everybody's live. Everybody has a puncher's chance, but in all honesty, this is really a fight that Montel Jackson should not lose. But on DraftKings, I'm with you again. I'm going to go a lot of Montel Jackson here. I think there's big finish upside. I think there's big wrestling upside as well. I think he can take down Strader and honestly probably submit if he wants to. As far as Strader goes, maybe I'll put a couple shares in because this guy he's crazy, he's wild, he's dangerous, and he's going to be looking for the finish. So if he does win, nobody's going to have him. But other than that, Jackson probably should get it done here. So Jackson for me, and we'll move on to the next fight here. And we have Trevin Giles versus Roman Dolidze. And this is that 8,200 matchup with Dolidze sitting at 8,200, Giles sitting at 8,000. And we'll take a look at the line here. The line, some more line movement here. So Roman Dolidze opened up minus 155, currently minus 125. And Trevin Giles opened up at plus 125, currently plus 105. So who are you liking here?
Yeah, so when I first started handicapping it before I did some tape study, I thought that I was going to be on Giles. I want to take Giles. I like him as a fighter. But it's very concerning because he kind of goes into his striking.
Are you there? We lost him. Are you there? All right, we'll wait for him to come back. But, as far as this matchup goes, man, I'm on the Dolidze side. I think I do like him here in this fight. It's just the problem is that poor fight IQ. I mean, he's somebody that in his last fight, he was asking his coaches, like, should I submit this guy? And just not really a good sign you want to see. But at the same time, Giles is somebody with probably even worse fight IQ. He was going out there against Gerald Meerschaert, actually taking him down when all he really had to do was stand with him. And I remember in that fight, he hurt, Meerschaert with the very first punch that he threw. And I think we have Tyler back here. And we're back. And I was just saying, yeah, both fight IQs are bad, but I think that Giles has the worst fight IQ. So go ahead and keep going.
Yeah, no, so I don't know where I cut out what's the last part you heard, but I think that Dolidze will wind up catching him, and I'm a little bit concerned about Giles' cardio as the fight goes later. I think Delizzi's a better, well-rounded fighter, and I'm kind of liking him a lot at minus 121, 125.
Yeah, I think this is a fight regardless you're probably going to want. Roman Dolidze, he went to his first decision in his last fight against John Alon. I thought he could have finished that fight a decent amount of times. I mean, he was just kind of messing around in there, but I'm with you. Trevin Giles has been finished. I believe in both of his losses, both coming by submission. So I think Dolidze is very live for that submission. I think the submission prop is around like plus 300, but at the same time, I think he can knock him out as well. So I'm with you. I like Dolidze. I like the price, 8,200. And I'll probably have some Giles just because, still some question marks on Dolidze. And also another big thing to note is he's coming down from 205 to 185. And I'm really curious to see how he looks on the scales, so I want to see that at first. But for now, I like Dolidze. If he goes to plus money, I'm going to take the shot there. How about you?
Yeah, no, I bet him a little bit earlier at minus 121.
Okay.
I think that he's going to win the fight. I think he has more ways to win. On DraftKings, I'm going to have exposure to both, though.
I like it. So, yeah, we'll get into the next fight. And this fight's really interesting. Kind of struggling on this one. We have Grant Dawson going against Leonardo Santos. So Santos is undefeated in the UFC. I don't think the dude's lost since like 2009. But with that said, he's been very inactive throughout his career. But Santos is 7,600 going against Grant, who is 8,600. So $1,000 difference there. And we'll take a look at the line. We have Grant Dawson opened up as a minus 260, currently minus 190. Santos opened up plus 200, currently plus 165. So some money coming into the dog here. Who are you liking here?
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of Grant Dawson. I just think that this is a really bad matchup for him. If he executes his wrestling heavy game plan, it brings it into Santos's world. Santos is no joke on the ground. He can catch him from anywhere. Right now, Santos is plus 184, I believe, and I like that a lot for somebody that's going to probably be fighting in where they're comfortable. For DraftKings, I'm gonna have exposure on both because I think either one of these guys can stop the other one. It's gonna be a great fight as a fan. But as far as betting, I'm leaning towards Santos. On DraftKings, I'm leaning towards both.
Yeah, so this fight's definitely tough. I mean, Dawson's going to be the younger fighter by a good 14 years, but I'm with you. Santos, he's like a 7-time champion in BJJ, like a third-degree black belt. So yeah, if Dawson does take him down, this is obviously going to be the best grappler that Dawson has faced, and we saw Dawson almost get submitted by Derek Minner before. And on the feet, I mean, Dawson, I know he's making improvements, but the guy is extremely hittable. 50% striking defense. He's tough and all, but Santos does pack some serious power. We saw him hurt, I think it was Bogotov in his last fight really bad. We saw him knock out Stevie Ray. And this guy's striking's legit. His power's legit. His ground game's legit. But the problem for me is, I mean, he's 41. The cardio is not all that there. So kind of some question marks, but I'm with you. If I was to bet this fight, it'd probably be on the dog. I went ahead and played a small amount on a prop I really liked. It was Leonardo Santos by KO at plus 700. Dawson's only loss was by knockout, and like I said, the dude's hittable, and Santos can crack. So I'm kind of worried about if Dawson cannot get this fight down to the mat. What happens with the striking, because he is going to be coming forward, but he's just there to be hit, and Santos can crack hard. But if he does get Santos down to the mat, again, Santos is dangerous off his back. So yeah, I'm with you. I feel like this line is somewhat off. But what's kind of scaring me away from actually taking the shot on Santos is that age gap. But I think he's in a good spot here. So as far as DraftKings goes, Dawson 8,600, Santos 7,600. I'm with you. I think this is a fight you're going to want to target. Yeah, I'm gonna go with I don't know. I think Santos is gonna knock him. Do you think the knockout's live, or am I crazy here?
I think it's live. I think it's more likely by submission.
Submission, yeah.
But that's where I would lean. But just to be safe, you could probably get pretty good odds on inside the distance.
Yeah, inside the distance. I kind of want to see weigh-ins. I want to see how Santos looks, and I also want to see how Grant Dawson looks, because another aspect of this fight is Dawson is coming up a weight class from 145 to 155. So I'm curious to see if that really good strength, that really good wrestling translates up to this weight class. And Santos, regardless, has shown a pretty good takedown defense. So yeah, close fight. But yeah, I think you're going to want this in DraftKings for sure. And then we'll get into the next fight here. Not a fight I'm overly excited about. We have Marion Renault versus Macy Chiasson. We have Chiasson at 8,000. 700. Marion Renault at 7,500. As far as the line goes, Macy Chiasson is a decent sized favorite. Opened up at minus 240, currently minus 225, and we have Marion Renault opened up as a plus 180, currently plus 185. Who you liking here?
Yeah, I think Chiasson's going to put it on her. But what it comes down to is if she has fixed her takedown defense at all. If Renault can get her to the ground, she's very live. And so that kind of scared me away from paying up for so much juice. But by rights, Chiasson should have no problem in this fight.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I mean, regardless for no, she's 43 years old. She's about to be 44. I don't think she has the wrestling to get Chiasson down, but we've seen that if Chiasson does get taken down against Lena Landsberg is able to control her. So I do have some concerns there. But I'm definitely going with Chiasson here. Not overly crazy about the minus 225, and honestly not overly crazy about this fight on DraftKings as a whole. I mean, Marion Renault, she has a decent finish rate at like close to 90%. So if she does win, maybe it's some type of submission, but I think that's a little bit unlikely. So are you playing any of this fight on DraftKings? Or are you more on the Macy side here?
It depends on how many lineups I play. I probably will have some exposure to both in the low amounts, just because I think Chiasson can finish her, and if Renault wins, it's likely a finish, and I don't want to have such a big underdog finish and me not have any exposure.
Yeah, I feel it. And regardless, this fight should be extremely low owned on DraftKings as well. So I have some of it, but not overly excited about playing it. All right, and then we'll get into the main card here. We're going to start with Tai Tuivasa versus Harry Hunsucker. And we have Tai Tuivasa sitting at, 8,900 on DraftKings. And I don't believe we have the DraftKings price for Harry Hunsucker yet. I'm guessing it's going to be around the 7K range, around there. But as far as the line goes, the lines came out late last night. We have Tai Tuivasa minus 350, Harry Hunsucker plus 260. Who are you liking in this fight?
Yeah, this should be a one-sided fight. Tuivasa, he shouldn't have a problem here. What's the other guy's name? Hunsucker?
Yeah.
He's had some losses to some questionable guys on the regional scene, and now he's jumping up to fighting somebody that's ready to crack the top 10, top 15. I just think it should be a one-sided fight. Props to Hunsucker for taking the fight, but it should end pretty quick.
Yeah, he's taken the fight on 3 days' notice, and the dude, watching him, I went through and watched about 5 or 6 of his fights. The guy gasses out on his walk to the cage. I mean, this is a guy that I saw him, try to get a takedown one time, and then a couple minutes passed, and this guy was gassed at like the 2-minute mark. It's crazy. So, especially coming in here on short notice, I'm really concerned about if Hunsucker cannot get this fight done in the first minute or so. He's probably gonna gas out. So I've been waiting and refreshing my bookie for the past 24 hours, waiting for them to open up that under 1.5. Hunsucker, I don't think he's even been to the 4-minute mark in the first round, let alone the second round. And he's somebody that's going to go after it. He has been finished 3 times before. So I'm really looking at that under 1.5. If Tai Tuivasa in the first round is a good price, they'll hit that. I think the fight doesn't go to decisions, a great parlay piece. So I'm going to have a lot of this fight, mostly on the Tai Tuivasa side, especially on DraftKings 8,900. I think if he wins, it's more than likely going to be in the first round. As far as Harry Hunsucker goes, depending on his price, I mean, if he wins, it's going to be an early finish. But Tai Tuivasa, he's a tough guy. I do think he's fought the much better competition. And he's dangerous. Very good leg kicks. If he does push Hunsucker up against the cage, he has these nasty elbows he can hit him with. And I do think Tai Tuivasa finishes him. I wouldn't be surprised if it was in the first 60 seconds, honestly. So give me Tai Tuivasa here. I know the props aren't out yet, but are there any props you're looking at?
Yeah, that first round prop. I think that this is going to be a very easy fight in general. I'm putting Tuivasa in a parlay because I don't think that minus 310 is a wide enough line for this fight. But I will be looking at Tuivasa in the first round and also the Tuivasa by KO.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I'm with you. The minus 310, I don't think that's going to be there for long. I mean, once people start getting to the tape and, seeing probably the weigh-ins and how bad Hunsucker looks at weigh-ins, I'm just guessing it's short notice, but I do think a lot of money will come in on Tai Tuivasa, heavyweight or not. I know it's heavyweight, anything can happen, but this is really a big step down in competition for Tuivasa, from the guys he has been facing. So, yeah, I see the fight doesn't go to decision, not on a book I can get to yet, but I see minus 265. I think that's off. If I had access to it, I'd be hammering that right now, but I don't. So I'm going to sit back, I'm going to wait, and hopefully get a good line on the unders and fight doesn't get the decision here. So we'll get into the next fight here. We have Song Kanon versus Max Griffin. We have Max Griffin on DraftKings, 8,500. Song, 7,700. And as far as the line goes, we have Max Griffin minus 200. Song is plus 170. Who are you liking here?
Yeah, so I think that Griffin has a clear path to victory in this fight. If he uses his wrestling, he has a clear advantage. Song only has 45% takedown defense. And even if Griffin struggles getting the takedown, I think it's pretty close on the feet and he's still live. I think it's going to go to a decision, though. So what I did is I put money on Max Griffin and I put money on the fight to go to decision. And I got Griffin at minus 200 to a decision at minus 170.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I mean, Griffin, not much of a finisher, and like you said, he has an absolute clear path to victory. He has some really solid wrestling. He uses it a decent amount. I'd like him to use it more. I'd like him to definitely use it in this fight against Song, who you mentioned it. 45% takedown defense, gets taken down easily, can't be controlled. It's written on the wall. Griffin needs to get this fight down to the mat to win this fight. I do think he does. Song, if he does win, it's honestly probably by knockout. But with that said, Griffin's very tough. He's only been knocked out once. He does get hurt a lot, but his chin he's decent recoverability as well. So as far as DraftKings goes, I actually kind of like this fight. I think if Max Griffin wins, especially with that new scoring system, takedowns, control time, probably goes to decision. But I do think that's all going to rack up. Not a bad price tag. On the flip side, if Song wins, it's probably by knockout. So are you seeing the same thing as me? Do you think this is a pretty decent fight to target?
Yeah, I won't go crazy on ownership just because I'm not too excited about the fight. But I do think it's worth having the exposure to both sides because they both have a path to getting a lot of points on DraftKings.
Yeah, I like it. I'm with you. I do have a bet on Max Griffin as well. So, yeah, this next fight, I mean, this could be the fight I'm more, looking forward to the most here. We have Adrian Yanez going against Gustavo Lopez. We have Yanez 8,800 on DraftKings. Gustavo Lopez 7,400. Taking a look at the odds here, Yanez is a pretty decent favorite. Opened up minus 205, currently minus 225. And Gustavo Lopez opened up plus 165, currently plus 185. So the money's coming in on the hyped prospect, Adrian Yanez. Who do you like here?
Yeah, I'm buying into the hype. I think Yanez looked really impressive in his debut. He landed over 7 strikes per minute. Now he gets to face the guy that has terrible striking defense. I think this is just a one-sided beatdown. I look for Yanez to crack him early and put this away pretty fast. And I'm taking the money at minus 210, and I'm going to have a lot of exposure to him on DraftKings.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching the interview of Gustavo Lopez. This guy, he's confident. I mean, this guy's a madman, talking a ton of crap to Yanez. Very fun interview there. But, yeah, I think this fight's going to be exciting regardless. I think they're going to come forward and stand and bang. But, yeah, you mentioned Yanez has some very, very good striking. I love his combinations. He has some really solid power as well, some sneaky power that really hurts guys. And Gustavo Lopez, the striking defense may not be all that there. His chin may not be all that there. I do believe he has like 2 or 3 knockout losses. I have seen him dropped and hurt a bunch of times as well. But what I will say, Gustavo Lopez does have some decent wrestling. But with that said, Adrian Yanez has shown some really good takedown defense. And when he does get taken down, a very, very good get-up game. So, and also a black belt on BJJ. So, yeah, I'm with you. I like Adrian Yanez. As far as DraftKings goes, I think this is something you want to target. I think Yanez has a very good chance to finish this fight. He hits hard. Lopez has been finished before. On the flip side, don't hate Lopez at 7,400. I think it's going to be an action-packed fight, and I do honestly think somebody gets finished. So, as far as DraftKings goes, are you touching this fight at all? How much exposure are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm going to have a lot of exposure to Yanez. I think he's going to finish early, and even if he doesn't, I think he lands a lot of strikes. So he's somebody that I want to have in a lot of my lineups. I probably won't be making it my way to Lopez just because I think that this is going to be a one-sided fight. It's kind of more so taking a stand that it's a beatdown.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I was looking at the under 2.5. I don't love the price, but I think it's sitting at like minus 150. I do think this fight finishes. What do you think about the under 2.5 in this fight?
I like it. I think Yanez finishes under 1.5, to be honest. But yeah, I'm pretty much just sold on taking Yanez and then letting it ride to the next fight.
Yeah, I think Yanez inside the distance is like plus 105, plus 100, which is really not bad. So, yeah,
that might be worth putting a
Yeah.
little bit on.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like Yanez there. All right, next we have an interesting fight here. We have Cheyenne Bays versus Montserrat Ruiz. Taking a look at the DraftKings salaries here, we have Bays 9,100, Ruiz 7,100, and then taking a look at the line, Bays is one of the biggest favorites on the card, and we have Bays sitting at minus 345, and Ruiz is plus 285. Who are you liking here?
So I've been a fan of Cheyenne since the regional scene, before she even got married to JP Bays. So I think that this fight could be one that gives her problems, though. And I think that a lot of people are buying into the hype, and that's why the line is so big. And it's for good reason. She's a good fighter. But I think that Ruiz is really good on the ground. And I think that she could give her a lot of problems. So I think Ruiz is very live at plus, I think she's like plus 300 right now. I wouldn't touch Bays at that price, but I will be having some on Ruiz just as a sneaky underdog play.
I don't hate it. I mean, yeah, for me, this is a pass. I'm definitely not touching the minus 345. Making her UFC debut, she looks pretty promising, but Ruiz is definitely no slouch, like you mentioned. So, you're saying you don't mind some shots on the Ruiz side at 7,100 on DraftKings?
Yeah, I'm gonna have her in some lineups. Playing around with construction before we went, she allows me to fit a lot of top fighters that I think that you need at least 3 of them in for this event. And if she gets the submission win, you're pretty much sitting on green the whole rest of the night.
Yeah, so I was kind of looking at her for cash games because Bays has only a 20% finish rate, I believe 1 win by finish. Ruiz looks like a really tough fighter, so I think this does go for 3 rounds more than likely. And I don't hate her for cash because you do get salary savings, and I want to pay up for that for the guys up top.
Yeah, and with Ruiz, her only loss was Danielle Taylor. Mm-hmm. So I mean, the fighters that she's supposed to be finishing and getting out of there, she's dominated. She struggled versus somebody UFC level. So I'm not 100% sold on her getting the win because I do think that Cheyenne is a great fighter. But for her price, she's very live.
Yeah, I definitely like it there. As far as Bays on DraftKings for me, there's just other plays I like a lot better. I just don't really see a reason to really go there at 9,100. Not really a finisher. She's going to push a decent pace, but I'm not going to get takedowns more than likely. I do think I'm not going to have much Bays on DraftKings. I think if there was one fighter I was going to fade in that 9K range, it probably would be Bays there. How about you?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. She's not somebody I'm targeting on DraftKings at all.
All right, so we'll get into the co-main event here, and what a co-main event it is. Gregor Gillespie going against Brad Riddell. The return of Gillespie after getting that brutal knockout, but believe it or not, that brutal knockout won me a GPP, so thank you, Gregor, for that. Kevin Lee knocked him out, one of the worst knockouts I've ever seen in my life. And then Brad Riddell is going to be 7,200 on DraftKings. Gregor Gillespie is 9,000. We'll take a look at the odds here. A lot of money has come in on the Gillespie side, like a ton of money. My goodness. Opened up minus 170, currently minus 255. Brad Riddell opened up as a plus 140, currently plus 215. Who are you liking here?
Yeah, so I like Riddell's game. I like his kickboxing, but this is a terrible matchup for him. Gillespie is probably the best wrestler that he could expect to face. And Riddell has shaky takedown defense. Gillespie's going to get this down and dominate. I took Gillespie at minus 230, but I also played a little bit on him winning by decision. I think Riddell's going to do just enough to not get in that submission and write it to decision. And I was actually very surprised it was plus 230 for the decision win.
Yeah, that's not bad. I did parlay Gregor, minus 230 as well. I parlayed him with Montel Jackson. Really do like that parlay, put a decent amount on that. As far as DraftKings goes, I think Gillespie may be my highest owned player on DraftKings. I mean, he's going to go for takedowns, a ton of them. He's going to get a ton of control time. And you mentioned it, Riddell has some iffy takedown defense. He's been taken down like 13 or 14 times in 3 fights in the UFC. Gillespie's going to be the best wrestler he's faced by far. So outside of Brad Riddell knocking him out, which Brad Riddell does not have a knockout yet in the UFC. I mean, it's possible. Anything can happen, but this is, such a winnable fight for Gregor Gillespie and a fantastic stylistic matchup as well. And that's why you're seeing the line get wider and wider and wider. And I wouldn't be completely shocked if Gregor was like minus 300 by the time the fight starts because of the clear path to victory. So as far as DraftKings goes, what are you looking at for ownership? Are you going to have any Riddell at all?
I don't think so, because I think this is just one-sided. I think Gillespie is going to execute his game plan. It's a perfect matchup for him. I'm really high on Gillespie, especially on DraftKings, where the scoring system is conducive to his style of fighting. So I'll probably try to figure out where the field is on Gillespie and be about 5 or 10% above that.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, I'm not one to lock, players in on DraftKings, but I might be like a good 70-75% on Gillespie. I think he has, path to victory to score extremely well. So, we'll get into the main event now. We have Kevin Holland versus Derek Brunson. We have Kevin Holland 8,400. Derek Brunson is 7,800. Taking a look at the line here, Kevin Holland is sitting as a minus 175 favorite, opened up minus 195. Derek Brunson opened up plus 160, currently plus 155. So who are you liking here?
Yeah, so I kind of capped this fight, and I thought that Brunson was going to be the favorite. But the one thing that I did notice is when I was capping it, is that Holland can kind of put Brunson on his back foot. Brunson has kind of shied away from wrestling for a little bit towards the tail end of his career. If he does that versus Holland, he's in trouble. That being said, if Brunson chooses to wrestle, I'm in trouble because I'm backing Holland. So I'm leaning towards Holland. I'm not completely sold on it, but I do think that Brunson is right.
Yeah, this fight it's so tough because obviously the line's off clearly. I mean, just going through the tape on Holland, there's red flag after red flag after red flag. He gets taken down. He has been controlled before as well. And obviously Brunson, fantastic wrestler. I think Brunson, 100% is going to go for takedowns and get them. It's just, can he hold down Kevin Holland, who is, difficult to hold down? And, going through the career of Derek Brunson, just don't see the best top control. I mean, he was struggling to hold down a guy like Elias Theodorou. So Holland, he showed in his last fight, he's very dangerous off his back. He has submissions, black belt and BJJ, I believe. He showed he has some power off his back as well. So I don't know. I mean, Holland, he has slowed down in the past in his fights, but at the same time, Brunson has as well. So I'm curious to see what happens if this fight does get extended. And although I do think the line's off, I'm with you. I'm going to go with Kevin Holland here because I think, the chin is a big question of Brunson. The age, 37 years old, a big question of Brunson. And I think Holland's going to knock him out. But the price where it is, I got to admit, I do think this line's off. I do think the value side is on Brunson, clear path to victory. But I just have a feeling, Holland's going to knock him out at some point and give Derek Brunson his 6th knockout loss. As far as DraftKings goes, this is a fight you're probably going to want to target. I think it's going to be very exciting for as long as it lasts. If Brunson wins, he's going to be getting takedowns, a ton of them, some top control. If Holland wins, it's probably a knockout, maybe a submission, but I'm leaning more towards that KO there. So what are you looking like in DraftKings? Are you going 100% on this fight, or are you going to go a little bit lower on that?
Usually on main events, I try to get about 85 to 90%. This is probably one of the ones that I'll go 90% on. And I'll probably do about 40 to 45 on Holland and then the rest on Brunson. Or maybe 45 to 50 on Holland and then the rest on Brunson. For me, Holland, he just finds ways to win fights. Even in fights that he looks bad in, he just finds ways to get it done. And, that's the type of fighting that can't really be taught. That's instinct. And if I'm playing money on him, I want to back that guy.
Yeah, so one thing I liked hearing in his interviews, it sounds like he's taking this very serious, that it's a 5-round fight. He said he kind of, limited the smoking. He limited, messing around and stuff. He said he was going out there, training harder, training longer. And I do like to hear that. I don't know. It's a tough fight to call. I'm with you. I like Holland. I'll probably be like a 50-40 there in favor of Holland because I think Brunson's live. It's just I have that feeling Holland does knock him out. And instead of laying the minus 170 on Holland, are you looking at any props? I think that the knockout prop, I think it was plus 160 last time I checked, or even Holland inside the distance, maybe something to look at. Are you looking at any props for Holland here?
No, because I think that Holland can fight done by either knockout or submission. I don't really want to do the inside the distance bet. I think minus 170, I'll probably play one unit on that and then just call it a day.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like Holland. I just honestly, I don't feel completely great about it. I have a kind of a bad feeling, but I do think he eventually finishes Derek Brunson here. So But yeah, that is about it. Any final thoughts for the slate as a whole? The floor is yours.
Yeah, so for this card, usually the last few cards I've liked better from a betting standpoint than DFS. I think it's the opposite on this card. If you're going DFS, you should go heavy on this. I think that there's a lot of fighters that are going to get really high scores, and it's not the hardest to fit in your lineups. From the betting perspective, there's a lot of fights that are iffy, that the lines just don't seem right. So this is going to be probably one of my lighter betting cards, and I'm going to go heavier on DFS rather than usually I do opposite.
Definitely. I mean, yeah, this fight card is going to be really fun from a DFS perspective because I see a lot of high scores. I see a lot of finishes. From the betting side, I mean, some of the craziest line movement I've ever seen in my life. I mean, these lines are insane. But yeah, overall, it should be a fun card. I do have a decent amount of betting action myself. But I'm with them and have a ton of DraftKings exposure as well. So before we get out here, guys, if you can please give this video a like, it really does help out. And also subscribe here to Karma Media. Again, it really does help out. And if you are interested in getting me and Tyler's core plays for this weekend's event, along with the props we are playing on Prize Picks and Monkey Knife Fight, to sign up, go to dfskarma.com/shop and to sign up for the MMA core plays for instant access. So you can follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers. You can follow Tyler on Twitter, TySlice20.